Multiple explosions shook Caracas on a night that instantly altered the emotional atmosphere of a country already living under constant strain. The blasts were sharp, sudden, and deeply unsettling, not because of the physical destruction they caused, but because of what they symbolized. For many people, it felt like a line had been crossed not visibly, not officially, but psychologically. The explosions did not come with clear explanations. There was no immediate, coherent narrative that made sense of what had happened. Instead, there were fragments, short statements, denials, pauses, silence. And in that silence, uncertainty expanded. In a country where daily life already requires constant adaptation, uncertainty is not neutral, it is destabilizing. Venezuela exists in a permanent contradiction. Beneath its land lies extraordinary wealth. Roughly 17% of the world's proven oil reserves sit underground, concentrated largely in heavy crude formations that, on paper, should guarantee power, leverage, and long-term security. Yet above ground, the reality has been the opposite. Years of economic isolation, declining infrastructure, loss of skilled labor, restricted access to international markets, and political tension have slowly hollowed out the systems needed to turn that oil into stability. Oil, in this context, is no longer just an energy resource. It is a reminder, a symbol of potential that cannot be accessed, a constant presence that highlights what is missing rather than what is available. The wealth exists, but the pathways to use it have been narrowed, blocked, or broken. The night of the explosions did not start this crisis. It exposed it. By the time the blast echoed through Caracas, the country had already been weakened by hyperinflation, shortages of basic goods, power outages, and the mass departure of millions of citizens seeking stability elsewhere. In such an environment, even limited disruption carries disproportionate weight. When systems are already stretched thin, they do not need to be destroyed to fail. They only need to be shaken. What followed the explosions was as significant as the explosions themselves. Information moved faster than verification. Social media filled the gaps left by official silence. Rumors spread, competing explanations emerged, and fear amplified itself. People did not just ask what had happened, they asked what it meant and what might happen next. This is where the story shifts from an incident to a pattern. There was no formal declaration of war, no visible invasion, no clear enemy presented to the public. And yet, the conditions surrounding the event reflect a form of modern conflict that does not rely on traditional battlefields. Pressure today is often applied indirectly through economic isolation, financial restriction, legitimacy challenges, and psychological stress. These methods do not announce themselves, they accumulate. Over time, financial systems tighten, trade routes become uncertain, insurance disappears, investment stops, maintenance is delayed, expertise leaves. Each step seems manageable on its own. Together, they weaken the foundation of a state. When that foundation is fragile, even a small shock can feel catastrophic. The explosions in Caracas functioned as a signal, not necessarily a message with a sender and a signature, but a demonstration of vulnerability. They reminded people that control was not absolute, that stability was conditional, that the situation could escalate without warning. In modern geopolitics, this reminder alone can have lasting effects. Geography adds another layer of pressure. Venezuela's long borders are not just lines on a map. They are zones of movement, tension, and perception. Migration, trade, and security concerns overlap in ways that blur responsibility and amplify fear. Borders no longer need to be crossed openly to matter. Their mere existence becomes part of the psychological landscape. Oil remains central to this entire story. It is the silent constant beneath every political decision and every economic consequence. As long as access to oil markets remains restricted, recovery remains uncertain. As long as recovery is uncertain, pressure continues to build. The resource that should protect the country instead magnifies its vulnerability. This video does not claim to provide definitive answers about who caused the explosions or what exact mechanism was involved. That level of clarity is rare in situations like this and often unavailable by design. What it does offer is context, a broader view of how such events fit into a larger framework of pressure, power, and modern conflict. The night Caracas shook was not just about sound and fire. It was about timing, about a weakened system experiencing a visible jolt, about how fear travels faster than facts when trust is already eroded, and about how, in today's world, countries can be pushed to the edge without a single official act of war. This is not a story of sudden collapse. It is a story of slow erosion, punctuated by moments that make the erosion impossible to ignore. The explosions were one of those moments. They did not change Venezuela overnight. They confirmed what many already felt, that the struggle facing the country is not only economic or political, but structural and psychological. In the end, what happened in Caracas serves as a reminder of how modern power operates, not through overwhelming force, but through sustained pressure, not through clear declarations, but through ambiguity, and not through instant destruction, but through exhaustion over time. The sound of the explosions faded quickly. The questions they raised did not.